cher ami Michael, malheureusement, le médecin l'a forcé de rester à la maison. Et malheureusement. Et puis nous avons aujourd'hui quand même l'occasion d'avoir avec nous le docteur Sonoran Arvin, un ami qui co-préside le PPM, le Public-Private Meeting sur l'efficacité énergétique. Comme vous savez très bien, c'est un projet qui a été fait en partenariat avec le ministère de l'Énergie et Business Mauritius. Mais aujourd'hui, c'est essentiellement une session interactive. C'est que le Dr Sonoran m'a dit. Essentiellement, il va faire quelques opening remarks. Après ces opening remarks, il y aura des questions. Comme vous tous présents ici, vous êtes bien au courant qu'il y a quelques semaines, le ministre, le Deputy Prime Minister a lancé le Renewable Energy Roadmap de 2030 pour arriver à un mix énergétique assez important en 2030, mais commençant en 2020. Tous ces détails seront partagés par notre ami, par le représentant du ministère de l'Énergie, Dr Sonoran. Mais plus intéressant, il y aurait la possibilité d'une session interactive des questions et des réponses. So I'm sure you are all very eager to listen to Dr. Sonoran, who will make some very quick opening remarks in terms of the methodology, the spirit, how it was worked out, and how to make it happen, and engagement of private sector in it. So, without much ado, I'll invite Dr. Sonoran Arvin for us, a friend, who will just make some opening remarks, and then, of course, we'll have an interactive session, which I will try to coordinate. Arvin, you have...
Merci, Chairman. Je peux mettre de...
Yes.
Donc, comme je veux, pour moi, la première chose, j'aurai une indication combien de monde ont vu le roadmap, parce que vous avez disposé, donc il n'y a pas de présentation pour moi. Mais n'empêche de vous dire quelques mots, comme on a dit dans l'anticipage. Donc, pourquoi on a fait le roadmap? On va prendre les questions juste après. Pourquoi on l'a fait? Objectivement, on l'a fait parce que nous voulons améliorer notre sécurité énergétique. Évidemment. Nous voulons être moins dépendants de l'extérieur, surtout ce qui se passe maintenant en Arabie Saoudite. Les prix vont grimper dans les jours qui viennent. Et 20%. Donc, et puis ça, on a des engagements qu'on doit remplir. COP21, l'île Maurice a pris des engagements qu'on doit remplir. Donc, c'est ça les objectifs principaux du roadmap. Donc, il y a une méthodologie très détaillée dans le document. J'espère que vous avez lu, c'est que pour pas compliquer à comprendre. Donc, la méthodologie, c'est en 4 étapes. Et la deuxième étape qui est, je pense, la courbe de charge annuelle qu'on a actuellement dans le rapport, si vous avez le rapport, on a une courbe actuelle de charge annuelle actuelle de 2018. On a fait une prévision pour 2030. Et dans la méthodologie, je m'adresse aux techniciens, vous avez souvent, les gens disent, par exemple, Carnegie avait dit, on peut mettre que du vent marine. On peut mettre que du wave, mais ce n'est pas vrai. Parce qu'il y a 3 types d'énergie dans la courbe de charge. Il y a l'énergie de pointe. On ne peut pas raisonner en moyenne, il faut toujours raisonner en 3 types d'énergie dans la courbe de charge. Malheureusement, je n'ai pas une copie. On n'a pas fait la demoiselle qui a fait les diapos, il n'y a pas. Donc, ça ne veut rien. Donc, il y a l'énergie de pointe en partie haut de la courbe. Au milieu, il y a la partie CLD, c'est l'énergie. Donc, par exemple, le solaire rentre dans la partie de la courbe annuelle que la partie milieu de la courbe. Et la partie inférieure de la courbe, donc c'est le charbon et le fuel oil à Fort George. Donc, il faut bien comprendre, c'est dans le roadmap. C'est la raison pour laquelle, dans l'analyse, vous allez voir, il y a plusieurs consultants qui ont dit des choses, ils ont raisonné en moyenne. Mais lorsqu'on fait le test, que j'appelle le litmus test, comme dans la course, la criminalité, il y a le test à faire. L'avocat vous pose des questions de crédibilité. Donc il fait des tests. Également, techniquement, on fait des tests. Donc, s'il y a des recommandations, mon ami le sait, il y a plusieurs personnes qui ont dit des choses qui ne sont pas vraies. Parce que vous passez ça dans ce test, ça va faillir. Je peux vous montrer, probablement un de ces jours, je voudrais faire un test pour la Réunion. Parce que la Réunion, on dit 100%. Je ne dis pas, c'est pas moi. Mais c'est probablement, on va s'asseoir un de ces jours avec mon ami, on va s'asseoir et faire ce litmus test. On va voir si ça passe ou casse. Ok, donc, Les autres chiffres qu'il faut retenir, en puissance, nous sommes environ 468 MW en 2018, ça va augmenter à 606 avec des prévisions, avec des softwares. Donc environ 140 MW, 138 MW d'augmentation d'ici à l'horizon 2030 en termes de puissance. En termes d'énergie, ça va augmenter de environ 950 GWh, ça va passer à 3775. Voyons le rapport, ça je crois la demoiselle a bien fait. Voilà. Donc c'est important de pouvoir augmenter de 950, c'est environ 138. Donc il y aura toujours une demande, malgré les mesures de demand side, de contenir la demande. Il y a plusieurs choses qu'on fait au niveau du gouvernement, malgré ça on a fait ça. Mais ça inclut le métro. Donc tout a été fait avec des analyses très approfondies. Donc ça c'est important. Donc je parlais de la courbe de charge. Donc il faudra tout ce que vous recommandez avec les autres sources d'énergie que nous avons en Maurice, par exemple Alteo, les autres, Ocho. Lorsque vous passez ça, vous faites le test, ça doit passer le test. Un point que les techniciens savent très bien, l'électricité c'est la seule commodité, c'est probablement la seule commodité au monde. Si je prends l'exemple du pomme d'amour, s'il y a tellement ou de fruits, s'il y a beaucoup de monde sur le marché, le prix va baisser. Mais si vous avez excès d'énergie, ça va affecter la fréquence. Donc la demande et l'offre doivent être en nanosecondes très proches. Ça ne peut pas être autrement, ça va faire le yo-yo avec votre fréquence. Donc lorsque les gens disent qu'on peut mettre n'importe quoi dans la courbe, c'est faux. Donc c'est compliqué, c'est très très compliqué. L'électricité c'est très très compliqué. On peut mettre, si l'offre et la demande c'est pas en accord équilibré, ça va avoir des incidences négatives sur la fréquence du réseau. Donc c'est très important de saisir. Maintenant je viens sur la partie finale. Donc en termes, il ne faut pas dire quand même, j'espère que la demoiselle a dit ça. Oui, je laisse ça ici. Donc en termes de sources, je reprends ce qu'elle a mis là. Il y a le vent, évidemment, qu'on exploite déjà. Il y a le solaire. Et le solaire, il y a trois types. Il y a le résidentiel, qu'on met sur les toits. Il y a les commerciales, comme CPU. CPU fait des facs. Il y a l'utilité, comme vous savez, partout, solitude. Dans l'ouest, là, il y a Beauchamp, il y a plusieurs. On va le voir tout à l'heure, on est arrivé très très mal. On a fait beaucoup. On est à présent plus que 100 MW de. On va arriver là, on va la solaire. Donc c'est beaucoup. Donc c'est quelque chose. Donc il y a la biomasse CAM, très important à utiliser. Les gens de la sucrerie vont voir la biomasse paille. Sans la biomasse paille, ça va être très difficile à arriver à notre pourcentage que nous voulons. Et il y a le gaz à marchicose, malheureusement ça arrive à plafonner. Il y a l'hydro, malheureusement également en il n'y a pas assez d'eau, donc on va plafonner dans cette région. 90, pas plus, environ même. C'est pas exact, c'est pas une science exacte, c'est une sous-étude. Et il y a d'autres sources que je ne mentionne pas, vous allez voir plus tard, en 2030, on aura ça. C'est l'énergie éolienne marine et l'énergie des vagues. Probablement on l'aura. Moi je ne peux pas me commettre là-dessus parce que tout le monde dit on l'aura. On va voir. Si on a ça, on pourra faire mieux en termes de notre mix. Donc, je parle là-dessus. Donc, en 2020, la demoiselle a dit, on espère arriver à 25%. Je pense que vous voulez mémoriser ça ou le voir dans les livres, là, si vous avez, ou sur votre ordinateur, qu'est-ce qui donne quoi comme source et comme quelque chose machin. Je vous donne 2 secondes pour mémoriser ça, et puis ça, je passe à l'autre. Je vois qu'est-ce qu'il y a. En 2025, ça va aller bien, on est arrivé à 35%. Également. Voilà comment ça combine. Avec toutes ces sources, l'important, il y a une nouvelle source ici, il y a cette 140 GWh, c'est assez conséquent. C'est l'énergie des déchets. Donc ça a été déjà approuvé, 1000 tonnes par jour, et ça donne le temps. Donc c'est un chiffre qu'on a fait, ainsi le projet va de l'avant. Donc il y a eu des appels d'offres pour le fait de se lever, mais ce n'est pas encore finalisé. Donc, 2 secondes encore, voilà, nous sommes à 35%. On va y arriver, moi je suis content. Et pour arriver à la finale, je pense qu'elle a mis. Elle n'a pas mis 2030, je peux reprendre 2030. Là. Si les gens me suivent ici ou là-bas, à l'extrême droite, vous allez voir, il y a la définition de toujours ça, il y a l'offshore, vague. c'est prévu. Si les coûts baissent comme prévu, tous les gens de l'IRENA, des sources de l'International Energy Agency, tout le monde qui sont des spécialistes disent que les coûts vont baisser pour l'énergie éolienne marine, donc c'est très cher. En Écosse, vous voyez la télévision. Et les prix sont très forts, mais on ne peut pas mettre ça dans le système, on espère le mettre en 2030. Et puis ça, on aura des vagues, si notre ami de l'Australie ou ailleurs font la machine, c'est pas commercialisé déjà, on pourra mettre des vagues, mais c'est très... En 30 ans, c'est difficile à planifier, mais c'est une feuille de route. Il faut mettre ça bien en tête. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui me posent des questions, quelquefois embarrassantes, je sais, on veut parler de ça. C'est une feuille de route. Ce n'est pas un plan quinquennal comme vous avez pas reçu. Donc voilà un petit peu. Donc on est 20%, 25%, 35%, c'est ça. Et voilà la combinaison de technologies. Voilà, ça ce sont des projets qu'on a déjà mis en place, le Future Scheme, dans le rapport, tout ça est détaillé. Et voilà l'investissement. Il y a quelqu'un qui a posé la question, 10 millions $. Je pense qu'il y a 10 millions, c'est vrai. Mais vous voyez, celui-là qui... Ça coûte très fort l'investissement, mais c'est refluel. Donc c'est environ comme 300 millions, ça fait 200 millions, ça fait environ 7 milliards. Donc si on ne va pas faire ça, donc on n'aura pas cette énergie, ce pourcentage je dis, et l'investissement va être moins. Donc parce que c'est vraiment, ça coûte vraiment de l'argent pour faire l'énergie en mer et les vagues. Et c'est un chiffre qu'on a pris avec il y a l'IRENA et puis on a travaillé sur plusieurs sources fiables. Donc voilà un petit peu ce que le roadmap dit et voilà en termes d'investissement. Donc on est bien sur la route d'aller arriver à 25% en 2020, éventuellement 35%, 40%. Et 35% en 2030, c'est acquis. En 2030, on doit être 35%. Mais on espère faire mieux. Voilà un petit peu. Maintenant, je vais prendre des questions parce que ça a été si activé. Je le vois.
Merci.
Et si les questions sont pas trop difficiles.
Alors, pour les questions, probablement il faut structurer un peu les questions. On parle d'investissement, on parle de mix, on parle des coûts. Est-ce que je pense qu'on est assez ouvert. Alors, commencer par prendre une série de 5 questions et puis on passerait à une étape de 5 questions encore, parce que j'en suis sûr, il y aura des questions. Allez-y en ce qui concerne, monsieur, allez-y, devant, allez-y. Est-ce qu'il y a Gina, il y a un micro pour vous? Attendez, ne criez pas.
Bon, on va prendre les questions, question par question, 5 questions.
Allons prendre les 3 questions.
Ok.
Et puis on répond, et puis 3 par.
Prends le 2, 3.
Allez-y.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Yes.
I'd like to know whether in your electricity demand modeling, whether you included transport energy for metrology and future electric cars, and especially the expansion of metrology.
Yes.
Second question.
You have one question. Okay.
One question.
I noticed that the roadmap is exclusively for the electricity sector.
Yes.
Why are you not addressing transport and heat energy?
Okay.
I notice, this is a final note, but in Mauritius, when we talk about energy, we talk mainly about electricity, we forget transport and heat. Transport is 50% of energy consumption.
Yes. Thank you.
Please do not forget.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, we have the first question.
He's got 3 questions.
On Metro. The second one, it is.
So he's lost here, he
Yeah.
can't take any more.
The second one is why only electricity? These are the 2 main ones. Yeah, we'll take another 1 or 2 questions. Right, let's answer the first one on have you in your modeling taken care of the electricity for Metro?
It goes without saying I looked at it. I said it in my presentation. Metro, of course, will have some consumption, so it's in their model.
Yeah.
And this has been done by lots of people who have seen the industry have checked the in-house. So take it from me, record, the transform is there.
So the second model is inclusive
Yes,
of
the demand takes
the demand for electricity for Metro. Yes.
Then there is the question of electric cars.
Yeah.
My friend smiling doesn't know about it. We have, in fact, commissioned a study on on electric cars who are coming here with the completion of this study. In fact, I've seen on the first agenda it appeared, but it hasn't been cleared by the Ministry of Government. So we have discussions, and Business Mauritius is represented in the steering committee for the electric car. So there are, I can share without sharing the secret of what's in the report, there are lots of implications for the grid. Also, the grid may not be fully, there is a tilting point, my friend, where, in fact, today if you use the electric car, you may be worse off in terms of CO2 emissions, because the grid factor is not very good at this time. But there is a tilting point when we come, and the report will address all this. So yes, transport is being looked into. Yes, this roadmap very specifically in the heading itself is for electricity. Transport, you're right, is for 50%. But the question of electric transport is being done in a separate report. There is a roadmap for how we develop the transport. We are working closely with Business Mauritius how to do it.
Yeah. The question probably with why we are looking only at electric today and not at transport, which is so important. The answer is it's been looked at, and there will be very soon a report on that.
Another difficulty, it's not a secret I'm sharing, the Ministry looks at electricity transport. So anything to do with transport is much more complex because there are more partners. The transportation policy, from the global perspective, is not done by the Ministry. But of course, we work in the electric, we're working together with other authorities. With Business Mauritius is represented in the steering committee for that. We've included them so that Business Mauritius is well kept in the picture of how we are progressing in terms of the infrastructure that's going to. But take it from me, there's a lot of implications for the network.
Yeah.
And this is quite complex. There will be a lot of, because everybody hooks up to the network at, say, 7. The peak will go boom, and it may be counterproductive. So the integration of transport will come. If the thermal cars are priced out of the market too, then we have no choice. We have to go to transport. But there is the intention to progressively integrate the transport without causing excess CO2 emissions, without causing havoc on the network.
What comfort you can give us that it is being looked at, it's not looked at this point of time?
Apaya,
this was the question.
Mr. Apaya is a living witness.
Of this.
Unfortunately, he's absent, otherwise he would have vouched. He has seen the report, but he asked me whether he can change. Today I said no, because still at the level of government.
Okay.
I cannot transgress that.
Can we move to another question? To another comment? I have one. In biomass, I've seen you mention only biomass bagasse and some cane trash. You don't, though you mention in your report you're looking at other biomass, but there's no framework for them to move in. In the report you mentioned all the other types of biomass, and also you mentioned about, well, it's public in the report, you mentioned about the Aldio project. So
yeah.
Why in biomass in your report you restrict it only to bagasse and sugarcane flush?
Yes. First of all, the Aldio project is important if we want to make more contribution from bagasse and cane crush, because they're moving at higher efficiency. So that will contribute in giving more energy to bagasse. Also, the cane will transfer from Beijing to the north. Hopefully, will be more because the north plant at Bellevue is more efficient than Beijing. Beijing was small, so hopefully this good. I'm very ill placed to talk about bagasse because there is an authority in government, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. But I know, the problem of bagasse is very complex, and we are working on that as well. This question of partners being priced out of the market, abandoning land, so this is creating a lot of problems. The roadmap relies on bagasse for us to achieve this 35 and 40% eventually. If it doesn't happen, then we'll have to look at alternatives. Now, thanks to our friend from AFD, the lady is there, actually, she's not looking at me, but she is. We are working on water now, but she's AFD finance to the facts, the first report on the biomass, which has given the alternatives to the traditional bagasse and cane crush. If this fails, we can do something else. So there was one phase where all the potential of different alternatives to bagasse and cane crush were given up there. But the study did not go into sufficient depth to give government certain, avenues of in case things go wrong with all the measures that government is giving to the planters, all these measures that we put put it in place to bring bagasse back into it. And I think personally, this is not a statement from as a technician, as a Mauritian. I would love to see that sugarcane keeps on growing in this country because it's tied to the roots of the history of Mauritius. But tomorrow the economics doesn't allow it. We have to find alternatives. And currently we're doing, she just spoke to me about this. Next week she asked me at the meeting, the consultants, we have already got another window of funding. Not FEX, this is, what's the name? Oh, it's a different name. Yes, we take the money without knowing which window. There is a window, or something else, or something like this. It doesn't matter, but we've got the money. The study is ongoing, and we have consultation. We'll be having consultation with all the partners, the consultants will be there. So once we get the report, I don't have a mandate to share it with you, but it would seem logic that that report will have to feed into the big global biomass framework that's going to be developed. But hopefully we'll have sufficient elements to feed into the biomass framework to be developed by another institution.
Yeah.
So there is a flow in the thinking. It's not disjointed. Yeah. There is a flow of what we are doing. So if this doesn't work, bagasse and cane crush, me, I would like to see it work. The economics sometimes are very sans pitié.
Yeah.
It's heartless.
If I may add also, we are aware it was announced in the budget speech there will be a biomass framework, as you have said, and EDB is supposed to work on that in partnership with different parties. And at the level of Business Mauritius, there is one of the subcommittees looking into how do we input in the biomass framework. So you're very right, there is a work which has to be continued in the context of a bigger picture of the biomass framework. And I was a bit surprised that this was not mentioned in the report, though biomass is mentioned, but it's a bigger picture. I take it that there will be convergence at a point of time. Right. Of course, the floor is open. Please, feel free. Any question to Dr. Sounaran? Allez-y. Je donne préférence à ce monsieur et puis je viens vers vous. Ok, please, go on.
Non, c'était pour vous montrer qu'il y a quelqu'un derrière qui voulait poser une question.
Ah, d'accord, ok.
Je vous poser une question.
Écoutez, vous êtes gentil, why not? Et puis je viens vers vous. I'll come back to you, huh? I'll come back to you. Yeah, allez-y.
Just to ask you, are you encouraging the fact that the battery systems are becoming lower and lower in pricing, and that probably residential will go towards the self-catered solar and battery systems?
Okay, fine, okay. Next, you want to take another one? So, yes, allez-y.
Yes, thank you, Thomas Tümmel from GIZ. I'm wondering that you are treating the electricity and power sector completely separate from electric vehicles. Because electric vehicles basically here on an island like Mauritius are running batteries. And by integrating them as a swarm storage, it has a tremendous potential for storing intermittent renewable energies that can be then made available to the grid, decentralized at the time when there is the power need. It's not the case that all electric vehicles would be charged at 7 o'clock in the evening. On the contrary, I mean, they could discharge their power, which here, just have a look in Eber how many vehicles are parking here in the plain sunlight during the whole day. People go home in the evening, at 7 o'clock they will be at home. And these batteries can be then used for feeding the power. So it's maybe a shortfall if you treat this separately. One question. The second is waste incineration. I mean, if we are or waste to energy, if we are talking about incineration of plastic waste, it's not renewable. Yeah, we are using fossil fuel through the plastics. And also, I just had a very brief look to this section. You need lots of waste, and I think what is needed here to reduce the amount of waste that we are producing on this island, because otherwise, I mean, it's just piling up, or being incinerated, and we are wasting resources. Thank you.
Okay. Right, there are two interesting points. One is about why not including the electric vehicles, and then you have made provision in waste to energy, I think 20 megawatt.
20.
whether we need more clarity, given that we want to go for a more sustainable development of economy circular, waste for recycling as opposed to waste to energy. Right, we'll take those 2 points, and then the question of course, battery.
I think the first question, this question of battery, I would take this battery is talking of the
Electric vehicles.
vehicle to grid.
Yeah.
The first, you're talking of having small systems independent for residential electricity. Yes. What are these batteries? CV has already installed batteries, 4 megawatts. They will install 14 more. This is not for storage of electricity for discharging at night. It's not for that. It's for regulating the frequency. So it's for regulating all those intermittents. So the batteries is an evil because your PV and your wind is very noisy. Mathematically, it's noisy. So you have to have to shave off those noise. So I think if I reply to these questions, it will clarify. The question of batteries is very complicated from the environmental point of view, disposal, and also from the technical point of view. He's saying, why don't people have independent batteries in the charging part? I don't think you won't do it because you like to watch football, you have got your fridge, you've got your washing machine, operation is going to be more Europeanized. It will work in a society which is lowly electrified. I make it a the question of energy is a social issue. It's not purely technical, it's a social issue, what people will accept. So the question of having small individual batteries, environmental, and second, it may not necessarily work. It will work if you're in an isolated region, you can have a battery for some time, electricity, then you're off. I've seen a boy in one of the Venezuela, at night he's studying, and when he goes off, he stops studying. So this is not the sort of system that we're envisaging, because we want to leapfrog from middle income to high income. So it has got to be reliable, but at the same time, at large scale probably, large scale renewables, not very small individualized scale. This is a reality. Now, probably I'll reply to him, then just make it clear for you. What he said, yes, we'll take this. But this has been examined in the report, and unfortunately, not with the view to hurting people, there are too many ideologues. They say things biological, okay, we can do this, but technically they're wrong, because the V2G, the report says in black and white, and the specialists are not saying it, V2G won't come before 2030. So you see, we cannot plan something which is going to come later. The technology is not yet there for the V2G. That is, you have a vehicle. Now he's saying that we're going to charge. Which of these buildings or these cars, most of the cars are parked on the road here. You can't charge it. Even if you have buildings, there are restrictions from the planning. You can't put PV everywhere. Probably a few, because this isn't discussed thoroughly. So you cannot tell people to rely on charging when the car is off on the road, or in a parking, or in a parking without a shed, or where they don't have. Most of the cars, take it from me, would logically not be in a position to charge during the day, so not to charge at night. So most of the cars eventually will charge at night. So, and people are comfortable. When they go home, just plug it in. Madame will tell you because she's a big car. I'm a bit scared to see because she's got practical experience. But I know at what time she charges. Probably she doesn't care, but she's only 100. The 100 users of car today is no problem. But if you come into 20,000, you know, taking what's called the diffusing factor that not everybody is charging, at least 25 or 30% will make the numbers and see the effect on the peak. And she will tell me, probably, I'll ask her the question, what time she charges the car. I think she does indiscriminately. She doesn't care about the grid. Obviously, she's a consumer. Go and see your problem. I think you're right, madam. If you don't care about my grid, let me have to care. So you don't care?
I care.
Oh, you care. So at least there is an exception to the rule. Thank you, madam. I know. Because you won't charge, if you charge at 6 to 8, you're putting additional load in the network. You're increasing the peak. It's counterproductive. So G2, forget the G2, the G2, vehicle is V2G. Forget it for the time being. The specialists are to us. So it's in written black and white. I'm sharing the report with you. You're getting all the information. Waste energy is true. But again, I differ from you. When you look in the literature, in the whole world, there have been lots of debates where to classify waste energy. The source itself is classified as renewables. I won't reinvent the bit. So it's classified. It's a bit of plastic in that, obviously. You look at the bigger picture. And there is not only 1,000 tons, there will be 1,400, 1,500, keep on increasing. So what this plant will take only 1,000 tons, not more. Okay, so you keep on having waste, And you keep on jumping at more shippers, you see I don't know if they're going vertically or horizontally, I don't know, because it's not my domain, but I know they're doing things vertically to do more landfill. Imagine Mauritius, this is a big issue. This country has to sort out this question of landfill. It's not under our ministry, so I'm not very competent to talk about it. But one way, the definition of waste, municipal waste, is in renewables. I can't fight it out with you now to say it's not. So let's forget about it. The literature classifies it as renewable, so it's renewable. Although I know there's a certain aspect to my plastic is not petroleum based. So this is how life goes. We have to be practical. I know you are on the ideological side. I say the same things, but we were on the practical side. We're policymakers. We have to find practical solutions, not ideological solutions.
Right. Just to add a comment on what has been said by Krishna, I think it is fair that there are issues, but it's also fair that they have to be taken on board, and that would be something very positive. On waste to energy, I think there is a policy clarity issue in Mauritius, and of course it's not directly under Arvind, but I think we need clarity in the policy of waste. How do we deal with waste? Because we're talking about 450,000 tons. Some have tried to use it partly at La Chaumière for compost, and it hasn't worked. We have an issue, which is not for the theme today, but which will have to be looked at in terms of how do we deal with waste per se to have clarity. I think Prakash wanted to say something.
I'm not completed.
No, I know. That's why.
I'm an energy man, so I have my mind.
Yes, sure. And that's why I said with the caveat, it is an issue, a policy matter, which will have to be resolved, on which I think Business Mauritius will need to work for more clarity. Prakash had a point. Yeah.
I just wanted to add to what Dr. Sulaman just said. Charging electric cars, you can also do it at night, late night. I do it at home. Late night, you just merge and it's at the benefit of the consumer. And also the point of raised by Dr. Krimel regarding B2G, it's already here in Mauritius. We can still start doing some tests, some test case and test scenarios and see how it works. If we wait until 2030, perhaps the technology will be already outdated.
We can only go by the advice of the expert.
Yeah.
So and the first point you read was?
What about charging the car?
Yeah, charging the car. I was thinking of it, again the consumers will react. I was thinking, this is my personal idea, I share with the consultant, we just seem to like the idea. I was saying that whenever you buy a car, you should be licensed to enter. Then the CB will give you a meter, intelligent meter, that you can plug it at any time, but it will charge you at certain times of the day. So that would have been one way. But consumers, they beat the system because they've got different, if you've got 2 meters, they'll bypass the meter, obviously, they just put it anywhere. But I think you can regulate it. So that if you plug your car at 6, the meter doesn't charge, it doesn't allow the current to go through. It's only after the peak it's going to go the current. It can be done technically. But since the consultant is not very fond of this idea, I shared it with him. That would have been ideal. So madam, if you plug any time, it won't charge. It will charge when the grid is at trough, not at peak.
Okay, let's give someone the benefit.
Our colleague
operator.
Since you're talking about
these,
people will charge during the day if you have incentive during the day. It's a company car, so it's charged during the day for the company. We looked into doing it solar, but the law didn't allow really for that yet. I hope it's coming up. If it's personal, then it's at home. But if I have the choice of putting cells on the top and to charging during the day with solar energy, I'll look into that and put it back at home. I definitely will go for that. I think what the document is not, it seems like you're assuming that the consumer's behavior will stay the same. I think it's changing. Let's start a little thing. How many of you are looking into solar energy for personal or for home or going off grid? How many of you are getting online to try and look for solutions for yourself, for your own? See? They're changing. If they can get off CV, they're getting off CV. Are we encouraging that? That's basically what his question was about. How do we encourage that behavior? Because those people are ready to invest.
No, I get the point. The point of it is pertinent, and there's a policy matter. The point raised by Audrey, the fact that today, given the law doesn't allow for it, an issue, and the law probably doesn't allow because there seems to be a technical issue, whereas it could be a behavioral one. So I think it's fair that this point be looked at. This is what we were saying.
Yeah.
The point could be looked at. Nous sommes dans une mouvance. We are in a journey, and this is definitely, I think, we appreciate very much this piece of work, but we are in a journey, and that journey is where we want to go.
I just wanted
to hands up now.
I just wanted to react to the...
Audrey.
Cautious, but
Tu peux l'appeler Audrey, elle est
I
gentille.
know, but
Même si elle n'a pas été gentille.
I've seen her car, so she was nice. So, no, but the difficulty is that when you're working, the car review, it's not at home.
Yeah.
This is the problem. Because I'm a practitioner, you know, I'm an ideologue. With the cars with you, you're in the parking board, it's working with you, you're going to Melbourne. It's only in the weekends at home, Saturday and Sunday. So you have to get your autonomy in the weekdays. So the practical. So maybe it's a blend of measures. For the individual, nothing prevents you, no. I presume, we have to check. No, if an individual can, not connected to the grid, but
It's
is connected to the grid,
It's not clear.
if he's connected to the grid, then he falls in the legal premise. Otherwise, it's not.
Yeah, okay, we got a number of hands up.
May I point-
One and at the back.
may I point,
You want, I'll give you the mic, please. Allez-y, Arnaud. Allez-y.
I just like to point out that Réunion Island, which is a French department, is quite, if you have ever been visiting Réunion Island, it is actually the world's densest photovoltaic using energy. So they are encouraging, being a French department, they have the French technology to help them to produce photovoltaic energy, which is
They're correct. Okay, it's a statement. Alors, yeah? Mon ami, allez-y. Tu as 2 minutes, hein? Allez-y.
This is very interesting, but you're not addressing at all consumption.
No,
You're just
okay, fine.
making as though we will continue increasing our consumption. This shouldn't be the case in Mauritius.
Okay,
There have been
can
no
I back?
incentives, not at all,
Okay.
to reduce consumption.
The issue on energy efficiency,
Yes.
consumption, allez-y.
There is in fact, Raj,
Allez-y, of course, go on.
there is in fact a master plan on the consumption side, which is treated in another report. The consumption by itself is subject matter, and there is an institution specialized to that. So there is a master plan. If you go to the website of the Energy Efficiency Management Office, EEMO, there is a whole master plan of what they are doing. It's already in place, they're already taking lots of measures. Equipment. I'll mention a few other competence and other colleagues will say. Labeling of equipment, awareness. So all this, there is a series of things that they're doing that is being put in place on the matter of the consumption side. So there is a plan for that, a master plan for the consumption side, which is already being implemented by institutions specialized in it.
I take it it's a matter for discussion. I can see from the reaction that there are still a matter that will have to be further discussed on energy efficiency, consumption. We take it, I think, at level of Business Mauritius with Gina. It's a matter which will have to be looked at, and we can take it as a main theme in one of our Club L'Énergie. Definitely we will take it. Yeah.
We need to articulate it with the BNDC.
Yes.
BNDC. Already there is an instrument of doing it, so we can continue that.
Yeah. Definitely. Yes. On the side? Yeah, that's it. We are discussing energy today, roadmap.
waste to energy.
Yes.
What?
Please, ask your question. We want a question.
Well, it's not a question, it's just more than a question. Okay, everything that you have said there, burning coal produces waste, like the fly ash. Coal, you have got coal fly ash, on which you have got a lot of impurities like barium, you have got
Yes.
mercury and things like this. And then you have got bagasse. When you burn the bagasse again, you have got fly ash, which is inert on this side because you have got less carbon. When you go to the landfill, it is the same thing. And then when you burn
your fossil fuel. Again, you have got the greenhouse gas, which is accumulated on the top. The planet is going to crash soon, I'm sure, because of all these things. Now we are talking about energy. Well, what is the percentage that this one contributes to reduce the greenhouse gas in the atmosphere? Yeah, this is my first question.
Okay.
Well, my second question is that we are talking about energy efficiency in buildings right now, retrofitting, and the rest of that. Okay, which also contributes to energy efficiency. One, reduction of greenhouse gas. And this is not being taken care of. Also, we have got that in the COP21, Paris Agreement, but in Mauritius, I think nothing is being done as such to reduce the greenhouse gas.
Okay, thank you. In the report, there is mention about CFD emission reduction. You will comment on that, and that's something which is being mentioned as, and probably you will explain that. Also, there's mention about COP21 in terms of what are some of the parameters that you would like to meet. But it is in the report.
Yeah, I mean, on this question of the CO2, I mean, you can't get it from here. But the whole strategy is underpinned by reducing by 30% whatever the electricity sector. If you go to the NTC of Mauritius, it's on the web app, you go to UNFCCC, you click Mauritius, you'll find how Mauritius is going to reduce its emissions by 30% by Horizon 2030. And energy sector is quite a big part of it. And what this transition, this energy transition, it's underpinned by this commitment of government, or this pledges by government in the first. So we are working. It's not something that you can do in a day. It's a transformation of society.
Yeah.
It will take time. But the whole, aside of energy security, because we reduce your dependency, this question of CO2 has to go down in this roadmap. This is one of the objectives, basic objectives of the roadmap. So the CO2 is key to it.
And the building sector.
Building sector also, there are a lot of things that may happen, right? Probably people don't know. I leave it to my friends from EMO to market what they're doing. But they're doing a lot of things in buildings. I know there's all sorts of regulations.
We'll have a dedicated session on construction, and we'll see how to do it.
There is a specialized institution government who's working relentlessly on this. But I don't have the latest to share with you. But I know they're doing a lot of things in buildings, they're doing equipment, and also in an array of things they're working.
Okay, we take a few more questions.
Ouais.
Yeah, okay, I'll come back to you. Alors, yeah. Non, je parle le choix, il faut partager un peu. Allez-y.
Mon sphère. Oui, je vois vos projections, elles sont très sympas, mais j'ai deux petites questions concernant le solaire, et le solaire résidentiel et le commercial, et ensuite les fermes solaires. Alors, la première question, si vous voulez, concernant l'ambition importante d'un 100 MW en quelques années, en 10 ans, sachant que la CEB met pratiquement un an pour traiter à peine 1 MW, je pense que nous sommes en 2120. Après, sur le traitement, je dirais, aujourd'hui de dossier, concernant la SSDG ou la MSDG. Le traitement d'un dossier CEB, c'est entre 1 an et 1 an et demi pour avoir un permis. Donc, je sais, on demande à peu près 300 demandes de permis et on en est à peine à une cinquantaine. Donc déjà, quelles sont les structures que vous allez mettre en place pour pouvoir fluidifier, je dirais, sur les permis. Et ensuite, nous sommes sur une île à un territoire très limité. Les terres sont faites pour habiter et cultiver. Vous n'êtes pas sans savoir les théories de l'effondrement économique qui arrive entre 2030, 2035, 2040. Et nous aurons besoin de ces terres pour habiter et pour cultiver. Et vous savez que l'énergie solaire, son grand souci, c'est, je dirais, la distance et le stockage. Alors vous avez 200 000 toits à équiper. Quel est votre objectif concernant la micro-énergie?
Do I reply right?
Yes, please.
Yeah, on the question of the solar, it's not true. They have already integrated more than 105 already. So it's not, probably for the utilities, it's easier. But with the small units, whatever people, and I can tell you that government has simplified the process. Previously, the permit used to go to the president. Now it's done in a much simplified manner. But I'm a bit surprised the saying it takes interest. It must have been reduced compared to previously. But the processes have been reduced for anything below 2 megawatts. So it's been reduced. Hein? Non, ça a été déjà fait.
Non, mais ça prend du temps.
Oui, mais pour revenir à la question pratique.
It is still an issue.
Yeah, so we have to see what we see.
But we have to see how do we reduce it, because the whole, I'll come to investment later, the point has to be looked at, how do we process all those applications dans une purée qui est relativement...
It's not permitting, the permitting has been modified, it's the implementation. I think it's the two sides. What I understand is sometimes the promoter also has its own. I don't know what I understand. So
c'est complètement faux.
Ça, je n'ai pas les détails.
La SSDG est sortie en novembre et il y a à peine 300 permis qui sont sortis sur 700. Donc, je suis d'accord sur la transition énergétique. Évidemment, on doit passer sur le sol. Il y a 200 000 toits équipés à Maurice. 24% du PIB à Maurice, c'est le tourisme. 80% viennent d'Europe quasiment et d'autres pays, vous savez bien. Quand vous faites 10 000 km, vous dépensez 10 000 $ par semaine et vous retrouvez sur une île, soi-disant un petit paradis, derrière un bus qui fume noir, vous allez écrouler effectivement le marché du tourisme. Donc en fait, Mauritius doit être green, c'est une obligation pour son économie. Le souci, c'est, comme l'a dit madame, les gens sont prêts à le faire. Les gens sont prêts, les entreprises, les particuliers, les personnes sont prêts à devenir green. Or, le problème, c'est que les structures aujourd'hui mises en place ne permettent pas d'être green. Ne permettent pas. Parce qu'en fait, les délais sont extrêmement longs. On ne peut pas attendre un an et demi pour avoir un permis. C'est pas possible.
Clairement.
Voilà, 200 mégawatts entre le commercial et le résidentiel, il faut 200 ans aujourd'hui par rapport aux délais de la CEB.
Le point est pertinent, et je reconnais, d'ailleurs, Business Mauritius.
Non, mais c'est du concret, c'est la réalité.
C'est du concret.
Mais je pense qu'il faut distinguer entre
le SSDG
et le parti administratif.
Le SSDG et le MSDG, malheureusement, il faut...
Ça a été simplifié.
Oui, mais ça reste compliqué.
Ok, prenez le dossier, regardez la SSDG Croix, et prenez le dossier et vous verrez que c'est faux.
Ok.
Non, le point est pertinent.
Vous me dites qu'est-ce que le point, parce que je ne suis pas dans le dossier.
Non, en tant que policymaker, je vois le point est pertinent et je vois il faut...
Vous laissez à combien de jours?
Non, mais
quel est votre
si vous voulez, le délai d'installation doit être inférieur à 2 mois à 3 mois. En fait, on est en micro-énergie, l'impact de la base de consommation dans les réseaux est nul.
2 mois, c'est...
Techniquement, si on est technique, l'impact d'une 3 kg, d'une 5 kg dans le réseau aujourd'hui, c'est l'impact d'un DER au tourisme olympique. Donc, l'étude technique est nulle. Et en fait, on devrait avoir des permis quasiment sur retour, je dirais, de dossiers. C'est ça, en fait, si on veut développer la micro-énergie.
Mais ça, c'est de niveau.
Non, le point est pertinent. C'est quelque chose que je sais, Business Mauritius, c'est le point que Business Mauritius a repris tout le temps. Et au niveau du MSDG, au niveau du SSDG, pour l'investissement même, il faut trouver les paramètres dans 2 mois pour pouvoir faire approuver le dossier. Ça serait extrêmement intéressant. Alors, j'ai vu quelques mains, yours, et puis, alors, il y a aussi, please. No, do you first. I'll come to you. One minute. In infinity, we are never late. Allez-y.
Oui, alors je m'appelle Ram, je ne viens pas avec des questions, je viens plutôt avec des solutions. D'accord? Je représente une grosse compagnie américaine, nous sommes présents maintenant dans une cinquantaine de pays où nous réduisons la consommation d'électricité pour les champs froides et pour les chillers, pour les gens qui parlent français, pour les groupes d'eau glacée. Voilà. D'accord? Et nous sommes déjà présents à l'Imo, c'est-à-dire nous avons déjà fait 2 grosses installations et là, on a des panneaux qui arrivent, il y a 3 grosses installations qui arrivent, on va réduire la consommation d'électricité, c'est-à-dire nous ne sommes pas producteurs d'électricité, nous réduisons la consommation d'électricité pour les gros consommateurs, c'est-à-dire les chambres froides et pour les groupes d'eau glacée. Alors, s'il y en a qui veulent que je fasse un peu plus, je pense
D'accord. Ok, est-ce qu'il y a... Alors, il y a, je prends deux dernières questions. One for you.
Bon après-midi, je suis Didier, docteur Sunara. Qu'est-ce qui fait que le projet d'Archéo fait autant de temps à voir le jour? Ça fait 12 ans. Je travaille mal. Pourquoi il y a des projets d'énergie fossile, de production d'énergie électrique qui voient le jour et pourquoi le projet d'Archéo, avec peut-être 30% d'énergie magasse? Qu'est-ce qui calme ce projet-là?
Je pense que c'est sur la bonne voie, hein, ce que j'ai appris, mais je n'ai pas dit. Je ne sais pas, c'est que Dieu. Je ne veux pas répondre. C'est quelque chose de contractuel que. Ça dépend de mais...
Ok, je crois que c'est une question commerciale qu'on a discuté. J'ai une question avant que je passe la parole à quelqu'un sur l'investissement. We talk about 1 billion USD, 34 billion rupees. Okay. For investment to happen, we need to have the right business environment to approve projects, approuver des projets dans des délais extrêmement rapides. Alors, malheureusement, on mentionne des chiffres, mais est-ce que, oui, il y a quelque chose qui est en train d'être réfléchi au niveau de l'investissement to make it happen? Les 34 milliards de roupies, 1 billion USD, en ce qui concerne ça, il y a des entreprises, du privé, le cadre pour l'investissement, est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose qui va sortir assez rapidement pour pouvoir opérationnaliser ce qui est dans le roadmap sur l'investissement?
Si je peux répondre, lorsqu'on avait fait le roadmap, on a eu des discussions avec Marina, parce que dans la loi, Marina, c'est Marina a cette petite responsabilité, et également EDB. Donc nous avons eu des réunions avec EDB, et EDB nous a dit qu'ils ont une structure en place, ils ont une plateforme pour encourager l'investissement dans l'énergie. Ça existe déjà, probablement il faudra avoir sur le tripartite avec EDB et nous-mêmes pour pouvoir expédier ce chose-là. Mais apparemment, il y a une plateforme, c'est ce que nous avons dit. Donc c'est pas, Marina est toujours en état de gestation, donc ils ont dit qu'ils peuvent faire ça, ils le font. Donc l'investissement, c'est légalement et structurellement, c'est avec le DD. Donc il y a des gens qui travaillent, qui peuvent faire encourager ces investissements.
Et je pense qu'il faudrait emmener peut-être une plateforme pour travailler, pour créer l'environnement propice pour l'investissement de 1 milliard de dollars.
Faites des suggestions au gouvernement, à travers les ministères et tout ça. L'État, on pourra en discuter. Mais je ne vais pas vous donner cette garantie.
Non, bien sûr. C'est bon, la question est pertinente. Alors, nous avons quelqu'un qui a une question permanente, vous avez une question, on va prendre les 2 questions. Est-ce qu'une troisième, on ferme? Alors, 3, et puis malheureusement, il nous faudrait faire à vous et à vous. Allez-y.
Pour la pub, je travaille avec M. Clausel, nous sommes les représentants de Huawei, ou les mondiales, mais aussi les batteries. Vous n'avez pas été clair sur la question de madame, sur le upgrade. Aujourd'hui, on veut réduire notre empreinte carbone. Est-ce que vous encouragez la consommation d'énergie upgrade? Parce que les batteries viennent, la tendance, dans 10 ans, les batteries auront. Et je voudrais savoir aussi, pour accompagner ces développements-là, alimenter l'infrastructure, est-ce que ça suit, ou comment l'infrastructure, le grid, etc.
Oui, ok.
Ok, je sais. Sur le off-grid et le grid, c'est ça la question.
Je vais faire une réponse
philosophique
économique. Laissez le marché faire son travail. Il n'y a pas de restriction à essayer de vérifier. Si quelqu'un veut avoir un système autonome, on peut le faire. Mais avec tous ces inconvénients, il ne peut pas se faire attacher au réseau, parce qu'il y aura des accidents et qui sont des permis. Vous voyez, c'est ça le problème. Donc c'est le marché qui le fait. Donc c'est notre market. On ne contrôle pas le marché. Il n'y a pas de restrictions comme telles. Il faut la voir, vous me dites dans la loi, il n'y a pas moi je pense. Donc, voilà, you can.
It is an issue.
Oui, quand c'est mélangé, mais il ne faut pas. Si vous mélangez, Et finalement, il faut voir avec le propriétaire du réseau pour
Mais
intégrer le
si
réseau.
vous êtes-
Parce qu'il y a une question, il y a une question de sécurité.
En fait, pour formuler des éléments de réponse, it is an issue en termes de loi, en termes du mix aussi, et qu'il faut trouver la solution là-dessus. On ne va pas trouver la solution. Ici, maintenant, it is an issue qui doit être prise en compte, définitivement. Yes. Only one question. Pas deux, pas trois.
Dr. Sunaran, equity. Let's return to your table. We see biomass and biomass cane trash. 2018, 304 plus 7.5 gigawatt hours, which is 310. Then we go to 2030, we see 464 plus 68 biomass gigawatt hours of energy. Okay, so that's 532.
Yes.
Okay, so you go from 310 to 532, which is a 60 to 70% increase in energy from sugarcane. I am perplexed. How does government or how does the roadmap intends to achieve such an objective?
Okay, thank you. Merci. Arvin? Yes, of course.
You know, we have discussed this issue with the Ministry of Agriculture. They have maintained that everything is being done for the industry to go back to its, I know the difficulty, I read it all, but it's not my specialty. But this is a policy directive from the Ministry of Agri-Industry, and the numbers. So there is no intention of government to go back. But if tomorrow it happens, Raj, then we'll have to find alternatives. So we will have to continue to find some alternative biomass. I'm not making a statement which is, I don't have the right to. We're not just there. But the sugar cane...
It defies common sense. I'm sorry.
No.
I want to be good, it defies common sense.
No, but I cannot because government is doing everything. I don't know whether it's going to work. It's giving 25,000 for guaranteed price of sugar. Hopefully the people come. It's a very complex issue that cannot resolve in this by making just a blanket statement that you're making. I know very often you do it. So I can live with that, I have no problem. But I'm talking from the practical point of view. I cannot change this because the policymakers want it not to be reversed. But if it's reversed, there will be an alternative to that action.
Let me give a complement de réponse. Let me give a complement de réponse. What Dr. Sunaran said. There have been a number of proposals to revisit the sector. And very recently there was an announcement that this sector will have to be revisited. And the energy component in the sugarcane cluster is going to be extremely important. At this point in time, I think there will be a number of issues and discussions, a number of reports. The World Bank is kind of out a report necessarily right now. But I take the view that if you look at things today and the trend today, there is clearly that these figures don't tally. But there is a policy statement that the sector will be reviewed. That's going to be the key factor, and energy, by all means, will be a key component in the reviewed sugarcane cluster. Okay, I have a last question for someone. Allez-y.
Bonjour, Jean de Belmelo. En quelques éléments du roadmap. C'est mentionné que l'Electricity Act a été amendé pour simplifier la procédure. Je suis dans le secteur depuis une dizaine d'années et je n'ai pas vu cet amendement. Donc j'aimerais juste avoir plus de clarification dessus. Et aussi, dans le budget, ça a été annoncé que 30% de limite sur le PV pour les commerciaux, etc., était aboli, tout comme le contribution charge, et que le gross metering allait apparaître. Sauf qu'à ce jour, on n'a pas d'idée par rapport au timeline, ni par rapport au prix qui serait pratiqué par la CE. Donc, et en parallèle, il y a pas mal de workshops qui est organisé par la URA et aussi la Marina. Et on entend dire que l'Electricity Act de 2005 sera promulgué dans la foulée pour pouvoir permettre à URA de prendre ses fonctions à partir de janvier. Donc j'aimerais juste savoir, c'est beaucoup de choses qui arrivent en parallèle, et comment tous ces acteurs vont travailler pour achieve ce qu'on veut faire ici, surtout au niveau photovoltaïque.
Au niveau de permitting, it used to be very complex. You used to go to the president. This has been changed for less than 2 megawatts. So you take it and sort of report. And it's in the final videos. I appreciate it. Now regarding, I cannot reply for URA. Unfortunately, URA is an autonomous institution. outside the ambit of the ministry. So I'm very ill placed. But I've seen from the program there is URA discussions. I leave it to them.
What will be the role of URA and CEB in the gross metering?
URA, I won't talk of the gross metering. This is a very specific question. URA, in a nutshell, will regulate the market. Whatever it means, is a regulator of the market. You've got all the players, including you, including CEB, including whatever actors are there. URA is supposed to regulate these partnerships, the price, the connection, the technical regulation, and then the economic regulation. So this should be done by URA. But I'm very ill placed to reply to this.
We have one slide on that. We'll come back to it, and I'll mention that. Okay. Now, this has been our first discussion on the roadmap of the renewable energy roadmap. I would really like to place on record our appreciation of having the co-chair of PPM, Dr. Sunaran, and also representing the Ministry of Energy. There are a number of issues which have to be worked out, to be resolved, but I can sense that these will become more and more important, especially given that the potential for investment is quite important. Today, if you look at the curve of investment is going down in the country, private sector share, this has to go up, and it could be one major area. We're talking about $1 billion investment, of course, within the next 7-8 years. So, there are a number of points. I'd just like to mention a few of them, with your permission. I know you have to move. We need clarity on the environment to invest. We need clarity in terms of certain areas. We need a framework whereby we can also look at transportation, because we've been looking essentially at electricity. We have to look at the societal changes you mentioned in your opening remarks about the behavioral changes. All these are important matters. La consommation, je ne vais pas oublier, la consommation, energy efficiency. There are a number of things which have to be looked at. How do you optimize biomass? And how do you look at some of those impact, be it on CHD emission, be on CO2 emissions, and meeting also our commitments internationally. So we'd like to thank very much Dr. Sunaran for giving us his time and for answering our questions and sometimes taking issues which are not essentially under his purview. But this is part of what Je crois que c'est important pour vous de savoir que le URA, les discussions, Gina, juste ça pour moi, juste pour partager avec vous, je ne vais pas prendre des questions, mais juste à titre d'information, on peut bouger sur URA, les discussions en août, voilà. Alors, il y a une nouvelle directrice de URA qui est déjà en place. Il y a eu des sessions de consultation avec les IPPs et les différents représentants au niveau de Business Mauritius. Issues which have been discussed: licensing for generation, transmission, système d'opération, distribution, bulk supply. Aussi, je suis au courant du fait que qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec les nouvelles lois? Est-ce qu'on va programmer la loi de 2005? And how do we move forward on that? So, juste à titre d'information pour vous dire qu'au niveau de Business Mauritius, il y a des discussions au niveau du URA et nous espérons pouvoir, au moment opportun, d'échanger avec vous des discussions beaucoup plus approfondies sur la mise en œuvre, comment opérationnaliser le URA avec quand même plus de clarté sur les possibilités d'investissement dans le secteur énergétique. Voilà, en ce qui nous concerne, les points qu'on voulait partager avec vous. Malheureusement, Michael n'est pas là, mais on a essayé d'avoir cette discussion. There will be a number of issues on which we would like to follow up.